across. Tarasenko open in, shoots, scores!
Let's go get him.
Briefly by Arvidsson. Here comes Tarasenko. He'll bust in a chance. He scores! It's a hat trick.
You want to go get him?
Here comes Tarasenko. Moving in on Jones. He scores!
I say we get him.
What's up, you beauties? Welcome to another HW episode, 3.48 to be exact. I'm Jim, joined as always by Jack and Kyle. If you're not listening live, please make sure to subscribe, follow, and listen to us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or Spreaker. Subscribe to us on YouTube while you're in the subscribing mood. Quick shout out to our affiliate sites, fullpresscoverage.com and bellyupsports.com. Belly Up Sports, they do it, the others don't. And while you're listening to the episode, check out our site, hwhockey.net. A lot of articles on there, putting out like 2-3 a day. Johnny's really putting in work. A lot of episodes. We have like 5 or 6 episodes in the last week, podcast episodes. So make sure you guys give them some clicks, give them some listens. Boys, a lot to get to. It's going to be a great show, an exciting show, enthusiastic show. Let me get the ticker showing up on the bottom here. There we go. Flyers potentially closing in on Vladimir Tarasenko. And we want to know what you guys think about that. But first.
Ooh, me first. Me first.
Go ahead, Kyle.
Get him. You got to get this dude. We've been talking about a legit sniper for how long now? How long have we been talking about a legit sniper? We're not talking about a 30-goal scorer who's gotten close to 30 goals, who may eventually score 30 goals. We're talking about a guy who's put up 40.
Yeah.
You gotta get Tarasenko. And news on the street just broke today. Doctor says he fixed everything this time. He knows for a fact. And this is a private doctor that Tarasenko went to see after the St. Louis doctors botched his surgery twice.
That's pretty interesting. And real quick, I just want to, what doctor is going to come out and say, yeah, well, he messed his shoulder up. He's not really ready to go. Like, of course he's going to say he's good to go. He's healthy. I wish he didn't say that, because now, I'm sure the Flyers and St. Louis kind of already knew this, but now his stock has risen a little bit, right? Or no?
I think it definitely
about the same. I think it's about the same.
I think if you thought he was falling off a little bit because of either the COVID bubble or whatnot, but now that, much like with Ellis, finding out that he never had the shoulder surgery and it was only his hand, like, how much better does that trade look now that we're not having these injury concerns? He's coming in with a shoulder, which is huge for shooting, and now we're finding out that it's good to go. And the only reason it took 3 surgeries isn't because of some kind of degenerative shoulder issue. It's because the doctor was a moron. Mm-hmm. So he goes to a different one, gets it fixed, he's good to go. I think that's even better. That's what we wanted to hear. So obviously that's good news. The only thing I'm worried about is I don't know how realistic it is right now of us getting them. I'm starting to hear some things in the last hour that are making me a little nervous.
So I want to pop this up on the screen here from our buddy Chris. Chris, thanks as always for hanging out with us. So Chris says, call Sanfilippo and get him on, because Andy Strickland just tweeted a third team could be in on the Tarasenko deal. And Frank Saravalli says Voracek going to Seattle with the sweetener. That would make sense, right? Because if Tarasenko is going to come to the Flyers, there has to be 3 teams, because they're talking, if Voracek's going to go to Seattle and Tarasenko is going to come to Philly, that's 3 teams. So we debunked it. What we've been saying for at least 2 weeks now, at the very least 2 weeks, I think we've been hoping for more. Voracek's more than likely going to Seattle some way, somehow. They may not choose him in their little expansion draft, but the Flyers are going to find a way to send Voracek to Seattle. And that means more than likely Tarasenko's coming to Philly. Chuck's going out and getting his guy. Real quick, I want to run this down for you guys because, we were talking about it earlier. Vladimir Tarasenko, in seasons where he's played at least 64 games, the last 2 years obviously were injury-ridden. We mentioned the shoulder surgeries and whatnot. In seasons where he's played at least 64 games, has only scored less than 33 goals one time. And that was his second season in the league. He scored 21 goals. Pretty damn consistent, which is what you want. Consistently good. The guy's a goal-scoring machine. One of our favorite snipers in the NHL. Exactly what we've been saying the Flyers need. Now, I was a little bit cautious for a moment or two. More so, I don't even know why. I think because of the shoulder, but news comes out that, hey, he's fine, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, all right, go get Vladimir Tarasenko then. He's 29 years old. Ryan Ellis is 30. So they're getting these not older, I don't want to say like that, but they're getting these guys who are right in their prime or right at the edge of their prime. These mature, these leader guys, all the intangibles. One guy plays very solid D, and the other guy puts the puck in the back of the net, which is exactly what the Flyers needed. In my mind, it's already done. The draft just has to happen so that they can make the transaction. What do you guys think?
I think that the groundwork's already laid with Seattle. If there's a couple other teams inquiring about Tarasenko at this point, I think Chuck's going to beat him out. I mean, going into this offseason, I had no confidence in Chuck Fletcher to make any of this work. And then he snags Ryan Ellis for a bust of a whiny crybaby and Phil Myers. So, yeah.
It is funny, some of the trades that we bat around and get shit on for, really, and then that trade actually happens. It's like, yeah, anything can happen in this league. I'm not shitting on any other trades unless it's absolutely ridiculous. And yeah, like you said, the fact that we got rid of Myers, who I did like, and Patrick, who I could not wait to get rid of, and brought in Ryan Ellis, who now has no real injury history, is like, we still have Morgan Frost, still have the 13th overall, we still have all these assets. It is absolutely amazing. It's almost too good to be true, which makes me think, Jim, you give me pause when you say it's a done deal. And I think one of the other teams in on it was the Islanders. But personally, I think that they have too much on their own plate that they have to just retain, unless they're straight up letting guys like Casey Zizekas and Palmieri and guys of that nature just walk. If Seattle takes Josh Bailey, maybe they have some money to play with, but that's not what I'm hearing. I'm hearing they're taking more of a prospect from them, which won't help them out too much, like a Kiefer Bellows. So, yeah, I mean, I'm still worried, though. It feels too good to be true with Tarasenko and, say it's a second-round pick in Voracek. And I've heard from other outlets that this might not go down and they might just take Hag and move on with life, and it's simply a money thing. Do you think from what we're hearing with it being both ends of the spectrum, maybe the Flyers are flipping Voracek, but also the 13th overall is involved because they need a significant sweetener to not only get rid of Voracek, but to bring back Tarasenko?
I don't know if the 13th is involved. I think that as more teams inquire, I think the 13th will definitely become more and more in play. From what I understand is everybody was talking about it, or at least like the Stricklands and whatnot were talking about it. And it didn't sound like the 13th was involved. And if you can grab Tarasenko with a sweetener of, I don't know, some of the kids that are still down with the Phantoms cooking, or maybe some of the kids that are in the OHL that we drafted in the last year or so, if that works that way and we can keep that 13th is going to get flipped for something else too. I just don't think that the Tarasenko deal is the last that we're going to see.
Oh, no. No, it better not be. I mean, we still got another defenseman, which I'm sure we'll talk about, and some more forward depth, particularly at center.
So the reason I think this is a done deal, and I don't know the Islanders' cap situation, but I know they traded some picks a season or two ago for Peugeot. So I'm not sure what they have pick-wise in this draft. I think if it comes down to, assets to do this, I think the Flyers have more. St. Louis is essentially getting dick out of this, right? Like, they're not getting anything. If Seattle selects Tarasenko, St. Louis is just trying to get rid of this contract, right? Basically, And essentially what Seattle's doing is they're just brokering the trade. They're like, okay, we got the guy you want, right? Now give us compensation plus Voracek, and it's a done deal. You know what I mean? I don't know. To me, it seems too obvious. Like, it's done. And they're going to select – if they do select Hag, that's fine. I saw on the NHL mock expansion, whatever, they haven't taken Braun, and it's like, all right, well, take your pick, one or the other. It doesn't matter. Take them both. Chris says Russ is saying JVR to St. Louis. So that's interesting. That's something that crossed my mind for a second is where does JVR go if they have Tarasenko? Can they afford 2, goal scorers on this roster? I mean, do they mesh? I don't know. JVR's defensive game's obviously not great. He played okay last year in his own zone and off the puck and whatnot. But can they keep both of these guys? Let's say they do get Tarasenko. Is JVR still gone?
Bring Braden Chen back.
Oh my God!
It would solve your center depth.
It would.
I was going to say, is it like they're just trading him to St. Louis or something? Like you're still getting rid of Voracek? Like, that seems like a lot of moving and shaking. That seems unlikely. I can only if that's like an instead of, and the 3-team deal is completely different, and we still have Voracek. Maybe I can't see us losing both guys. Whether it's trade or not, I just can't. I don't know how that works.
That would make it interesting. The Flyers are kind of like overloaded on the left side. Like, I'm not saying overloaded with overwhelming talent, but you got Claude Giroux, Oscar Lindblom, JVR. I'm assuming that Scott Lawton's going to play on the left wing again. So it's like, where does JVR really fit? He played on the third line a lot. I think it was last season, right? Didn't he play a lot on the third line? The year before, he played a lot on the fourth line. You got a $7 million guy floating around the bottom 2 lines. Do you find a way to move him? I haven't really thought about JVR much just because I've been so focused on Voracek going and Tarasenko coming in. But it's an interesting thing to think about.
I mean, listen, it's not going to be that hard to move a JVR if you really put your mind to it. As Russ has stated many a times, people pay for goals. They always pay for goals. That's why when I was thinking about could they have Tarasenko and JVR, I'm like, I think so because the guys put the puck in the net, and there's never a shortage of that. However, overall left winger depth, I get it. I think if you really needed him to, Lawton could play center or right if you really needed him to. But also, JVR is like a big with the NHLPA and, teams like that and whatnot, players like that. He's great for the locker room. I think he's 2 years left at $7 million. It's really not that. I mean, it's in the flat cap, it's kind of tough, but I still think if they really put their mind to it, they can move it. I just don't know St. Louis, who would come back.
So, yeah, just to kind of wrap, this conversation up a little bit. So, the latter of these 2 deals makes sense to me. It's another 3-way trade, and it's similar to what we just saw, right? So Seattle's going to pick Hag, and they're going to take a pick for whatever, brokering this trade, taking on Voracek, and then they're sending JVR still. Oh, this says Voracek's going to St. Louis. I don't know. Either way, Voracek's off the roster. Tarasenko's in with both of those scenarios. I don't care.
You can get them both off the roster and free up all that cap.
That'd be insane. That's why I feel like there's too much going on here. I seen that tweet. That was a Russ Joy tweet, but like, I don't know. I can't see them both getting out of here in some way. I mean, that would be great if you get rid of essentially over $15 million and bring in Tarasenko, who, yeah, I know he's $7 million, but come on, like he's only got a 2-year deal. You're looking at him fully healthy, and they have more money to play with for defense, backup goaltender, and center depth. Like, damn. That would be really impressive. And I don't know what else the sweetener would be, but
it would be too good. It's almost too good to even buy into.
They could do all that and theoretically still have Morgan Frost in the 13th overall pick. It's like, okay, something's got to give here. Like, there's no way. I know that first trade was like such a good trade for us that we're all anything can happen, but at some point, GMs are going to be like, no, I don't think that works for my team.
Chucky must have nudes of these guys or something because he's wheeling and dealing if this happens.
Yeah, that seems. I think we're just coming off that emotional high of getting Ellis for, I don't want to say so little, but essentially little. with how his contract is and the years and how well we project him to play with Provorov and the fact that he's not really injured. So the only other thing I saw that I thought was hilarious was people were some people didn't like the trade. Or I should say they liked some of the players that left Philly a little more than they should have. I won't say any names.
Well, that's everybody.
I won't say any names, but they pointed out that Ellis is an inch shorter than Shane Gostisbehere. I think I read that Ghost was listed at 5'10" or 5'11". There is no way and Dan Silver said this. He's 5'6". Stop. Just stop. Ryan Ellis, he plays like he's 6'2", so I don't want to hear it anyway. It's so dumb. It was what do we have to grab from this shit on this trade? And that's all they could come up with. I'm that's pretty sad. Just smile and move along.
Do we think that Shane Gostisbehere is going to be on this team next year?
I don't think so.
I'm kind of getting the feeling that he is.
Yeah, I'm getting that feeling too.
I'll tell you what. If they get rid of both JVR and Voracek, maybe. Because then there's plenty of money, space. But if they don't, I think they get rid of him in one way, shape, or form.
You haven't heard his name at all. He's the forgotten man.
I don't think he's going to be involved in any. Well, I have heard him as a potential pick for Seattle, but it's third, dark horse. I think his name will pop up after the draft potentially, and maybe into the offseason. He's not a name I see getting moved now for anything. It's down the road, if that's the case. It's a lot of big fish right now. A lot of bigger dominoes are going to fall before you get to names like Shane Gostisbehere.
So here's the thing, and it's going to surprise you guys a little bit. So imagine, Shane Gostisbehere of last year is what we're going to get next year with Shane Gostisbehere, if he's still on the team. So your top two pairings, we got Provorov, Ellis, Sanheim, and whoever they're going to go out and get, assuming that they do. We're going to talk about that in our next segment. Your bottom pairing is, one of Braun or Haig, assuming on the right side, okay? Your left side, everyone's saying Cam York right now. And, that's cool. You're right. Put the young guy on the third pairing. He's not going to be great right away. We went through it already with Provorov and Sanheim. These kids are going to take 2, 3, 4 years to develop. I'm not expecting Cam York to come in on the third pair and light it up. I don't know about you guys. I'm expecting him to have his struggles a little bit. And Shane Gostisbehere maybe rotates in. Plays a majority, plays for stretches when Cam York struggles and needs to sit up in the box a little bit to kind of take a look at the game and see what's going on. Maybe Ghost slides in. The only issue with that is making a lot of money to rotate in and out with Cam York on that third pair, right? But the advantage of, having Gostisbehere in your back pocket, this is if they move, one of Voracek, JVR, and you don't need the cap space. Sorry, you still have that potential weapon that you can insert into the lineup whenever you want, right? I don't know. It just made me think a little bit. You haven't heard Ghost's name in any rumors and whatnot.
Potential weapon,
I'm
AKA
this guy's
for the
just not
other
gonna
team.
Go away.
Yeah,
he's not. He's just here forever.
That can literally blow up in your face. but I mean, money aside, that makes perfect sense for your third pairing. You limit his time on ice. Try to keep him out there on the power play, whether it's the first, second unit. I don't care. That makes sense. But like I said, if Jake and JVR are out of here, that's a lot of money saved. You can do something like that if you have to. I personally don't think they like him all too much. I think his value is as high as it's been since his 65-point season. He's been a major dip, and he finally pulled it back up a little bit. So now would be the time to move him before it either dips again. I just think a lot of bigger fish are going to go, and then we'll get to further down to these lower names, and he might just be thrown into a deal to make the money work, or he might be traded for picks. I don't know. But like you said, you make a good point about Cam York. He's not going to go in there, and if he struggles, what are you going to do? So we'll ultimately have to see. I think his ice time would be limited. I think if York was coming into the Flyers just bringing it back and not making any moves, York might be on the second pairing trying to make things work and probably getting screwed. But luckily, the team to be having a better, smarter way of doing this stuff with actual veteran defensemen. So he might be in a better situation to play more often than not. I wait on Ghost. After all this dust settles, I think you're going to start to hear his name a little bit more.
I mean, I really wouldn't mind if you can unload Ghost at this point for whatever draft capital. I don't even care. A bag of pucks, a couple hockey sticks, maybe. I don't.
So there's so many different avenues and rumors the Flyers have been involved in. It's hard to nail down. Obviously Tarasenko, because it's tomorrow, is probably the obvious big fish right now. But they were talking to so much defensemen, so in depth. Now they're on to this, but after this, we've been hearing the Ristolainen rumors, the price tags. They're connected to both Adam Larson and Savard. So it's hard to say which direction they go. And based on that, they're going to make decisions on these other players as well. So we got to get through tomorrow, which is going to be the longest day ever up until 8 o'clock.
Ain't it?
Hours. Yeah.
And do you guys – okay, this is another question I want to ask your guys' opinion on. St. Louis, I believe, gets their pick from Seattle at number 3 or number 4, somewhere around there. Real early in the draft, St. Louis gets picked from. Do you believe that that's an immediate flip right then and there?
That's a good question. I don't remember how it was done with that stuff from Vegas. I just can't remember how they did all that. I could totally see it not. Did you select him? And then we find out after the fact. I would be surprised if they said it right then and there, but maybe they did. Does anybody remember from Vegas? Because I don't. I
thought they were, because Gary Bettman kept walking up and being like, "We have a trade. We have this. We have that. We have this."
I mean, I guess there's no rush. I'm sure Twitter will burn down if they take Tarasenko and Hag, and then we hear nothing for like 24, 48 hours. But it still could go down theoretically.
Yeah.
I hope it's immediate so I can go to bed.
Oh, me too. I don't want to go to bed, nervous. Like, oh, geez, the only money that came off the cap was about $1.6 million. You know what I mean? That's not good.
I wonder if all the Hague talk is kind of bluffing a little bit. I could be wrong. I'm wrong a lot.
No, I mean,
but I think it's bluffing because if you're Seattle, don't you want to make it not known that you want to take Jake Voracek so that you can squeeze the Flyers out of picks?
Oh, yeah.
I think that the groundwork,
Robert Hague, come on.
But I think that groundwork's already laid. Like, I think that's already almost ironed out at this point. The only thing that would throw a monkey wrench in the possible deals taking place is another team coming in and offering something more. And then you go back to the Flyers back and forth. But I think that groundwork's already laid, almost like the groundwork for Ellis was laid at the trade deadline last year. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, and nobody came and offered more for Ellis, so Nashville pulled the trigger on Myers and Patrick.
This is why I think Voracek's gone. I think it's a foregone conclusion. I think it's all anything that we're seeing in the media right now about names and if it's weird that Robert Hague is their choice, and it looks weird, right? Like, why would they take Robert Hague? To me, it's BS. They're putting it out in the media. Like, wait a second, they're going to take Robert Hague over Jake Voracek. Hey, we'll give you a second or a third or a fourth with Jake for you to take him because we want you to take him. That's why we left him unprotected.
Well, it's funny, like some of the people from outside of the organization talking about Hag. It's like, are we watching the same player? Like, oh, I think Hag could do this. He could do that. He could be more offensive if he was given the ice time. I'm like, Hag's been here for quite a while. I've seen him all up and down. I mean, not necessarily on the first unit or the power play, but I've seen him around a lot. Like, nothing about him makes me think, yeah, he's the guy who sticks out. We should get him.
But at the same time, with his age – and with his ability level and his cap hit, he's not a bad pick for an expansion team at all.
But if I'm a fan, like, am I excited about that? Like, Robert Hag, you had a chance to
Robert Hag. Yeah, but you're not going to be excited about every single pick your team's going to make. I mean, that's impossible. You'd be the Tampa Bay Lightning in the playoffs. You'd be $20 million over the cap. Like, if you were excited about every pick.
But I think they got to try. Look at what Vegas did. I don't think they're going to do that, but they got to at least try. And I think it's more what Jim said, with just trying to get more out of us, because Hag, he's a 6'7" guy. He's not a second pairing, a 4-5. He's definitely a 6'7".
That being said, though, at the time of the Vegas draft, I highly doubt everybody was super excited about every pick and trade that Vegas made. No, I don't remember everybody being like, oh my God, Vegas is going to go to the cup in their first year. No, nobody thought that shit. They were like, hey, yeah, they'll be competitive. And then they blew the doors off the NHL. And you're like, holy shit, they're actually really competitive. Like, nobody thought of their picks as, oh my God, these guys are experts and they're building this powerhouse. Nobody thought that.
That's the exact reason I think it's the opposite with Seattle. I think if this was the only expansion team and there was no Vegas, maybe they do go smaller term like that. But because of what Vegas did, because of how they didn't even just do it 1 year, they've been perennially good, constant cup contenders. I think Seattle has an opportunity here, and they still got to sell tickets too. And they got a lot of decisions to make too with the Carey Price thing and all that. If you got a legitimate shot, and it's not like it's a huge deal. They're not grabbing Bob or anything like that, where it's like $10 million for another 6 years. It's like Voracek's contract's really, it's 3 years, and you're going to pass up a superstar for Hag. Like, it's like, I don't know. That seems weak. I think it's just jockeying for position to get more out of us, and that's what they should do. But if they just flat out take him and there's no deal with us, either Fletcher balked really bad or tried calling their bluff and failed, or they just swung and missed. Like, I know Hacksaw likes Hag. I know that for a fact. He picked him over Moran to start way back when, so that's an issue. But yeah, I mean, Hag, his development, he's a nice guy. We all kind of like him. Every trade offer, he's always somehow involved in. The whole Hag and a third thing has taken on a life of its own. I mean,
dude, the funny thing is, it might end up being that.
I never viewed him more than a third pairing defenseman. I don't know how he steps up. So, like, why are you looking at a guy whose ceiling is a third pairing defenseman and taking that? Like, I'd be shocked.
Yeah. God bless. Salute. Salute. One more. All right. Let's move on to our next topic here. So we're talking defense. Let's talk, some of the guys that the Flyers are interested in here. And I want to start with Rasmus Ristolainen. Kyle, why do you love this guy?
I like the way he plays, man. He's a big kid. He plays physical. He doesn't really let people hang around the net too much. He will go with you. Not that I need him to. I just like having that in my lineup. I like having the ability to say, okay, shit's getting a little out of hand. We got a big dude. He likes to scrap. Let him go. You know what I mean? Like, I like having that in the lineup. That's why I like having Morin in the lineup. No, Morin isn't the greatest defenseman in the world. I'm pretty sure we're all aware of that. Thanks, everybody. But but I like having him in the lineup just in case shit gets a little sketchy and Brendan Lemieux needs to have his block knocked off. It was fun to watch. I'm sorry. Nobody else liked that?
Yeah, I think we did.
That's it. I think that he checks a lot of boxes, and being a right defenseman, I'm pretty sure he's right-handed shot as well. He fits the mold for that second line there. And if he fits well with Sanheim, and then we got to start discussing contracts because his contract is up after this year, and that would be pretty much the only thing that I kind of shy away from is the fact that his contract is up after this year, and I don't know how much he's going to be looking for.
So that leads me to my next question here. Jack, what don't you like about Rasmus Ristolainen?
Well, if you expect him to come in and be a shutdown defenseman like Buffalo did, you're gonna be in trouble. But I don't think they would do that. I think they would let him play his game. I think he was misused in Buffalo almost as bad as the Flyers putting Braun on the top pairing. He was expected to do a lot for a very bad team, and it blew up in their face. And yeah, not a lot of guys can survive in that environment like that. You bring him
and
here,
still put up 40 points.
When he did his thing, he could put up points. Yeah, exactly. So, and he will throw the body around, but he's not exactly a shutdown defensive guy. Maybe he's better than we're giving him credit for. Sorry, that threw me off. I just think that if you bring him here, he can throw the body around. He can play on a good defensive pairing with a good goaltender and a better system, but a better defensive system and a better locker room where this is going to sound silly to you guys, but we're losing isn't exactly expected. It's not supposed to be. We can at least go back to the bubble year where they had shown success. They have been to the playoffs where Buffalo is really his whole tenure there hasn't done anything. I think this would be a better change of scenery for him. And I think he could thrive here. I don't know if he'll turn into how good they thought he'd be when they took him 8th overall. But I would definitely, for the right price, be very interested in Ristolainen if a couple of other scenarios don't go through. Just they got to use them correctly and not the way Buffalo did.
Fair enough.
And I think second pair and right side is using that guy correctly.
I agree.
Okay. So 26 years old, 6'4", 221. He will be 27 by the time, or a little bit after, by next season starts. So he's in the age range where the Flyers kind of need to fill that gap. We talked in previous shows. They have a lot of guys 23, 24, and then the age kind of skips to 28, 29, 30. They don't really have too many 25, 26, 27-year-old guys. That's something I look at. I don't know if I'm weird or not, but he fills that bill. He fills the physicality bill. He brings the physical presence to the lineup. Consistent scoring, 40 points. It's almost a lock every season until the last two on a bad team. All of that is great. Here's where I kind of question Ristolainen a little bit. Pairing him with Sanheim, I don't know if it's the best thing, because I want Sanheim to kind of be that guy that takes the chances on offense. And, I want him to kind of be able to roam free. And I'm not sure Sanheim's the best defensively, so where if Ristolainen's going out of his way to lay guys out, and, usually when you go to lay guys out, you're out of position for a couple seconds. And a couple seconds, all it takes to go the other way. Not sure I want Sanheim in those positions. I'm not saying I wouldn't be like, okay, Rasmus Ristolainen, like, nice if they got him. But for me, not my ideal guy, and that's kind of why I'm worried about him playing with Sanheim on the second pair.
This all being said, I would much rather him play with Sanheim on the second pair than watch him go to Pittsburgh.
True. Very true.
I mean, it fits when we say he checks a couple of boxes, and you're not wrong, Jim. And there's some other guys I might prefer to see first, like Adam Larson, depending on the price. But we talked about adding grit to this team, and I would love to see that grit on this team, and that he was one way to get it. Bigger, just big defenseman, throws the body around, knows how to play the game. I mean, you can't hate on that.
I think he also would fit in AV system very nicely. He does carry the puck very well. He has a very good first outlet pass. So if there's not an opportunity for him to skate it up, he's pretty responsible with the puck. He's not going to throw it into the front of our net like we've seen a lot of Flyers do in the past. So, yeah. I mean, I think he's a bona fide flat-out upgrade. He's at Myers level, above Myers level defensively. I think he's got a little more offensive upside than Myers if he's in the right situation as well. I mean, he checks a lot of boxes for me. Again, that 5.4 mil on the cap hit. Thanks for bringing that up, John. That's a lot for a guy who may fit, may not fit. You know what I mean? You're taking a risk, but with only 1 year left on his contract, if you can get him relatively cheap enough, like you got to give up a couple prospects maybe, and maybe like a third or a second from next year, I'd pull the trigger on it. I mean, you're bringing in a guy who's going to upgrade your defense immediately, in my personal opinion. And he upgrades a lot of other things we lacked last year. Like we got pushed around, I mean, a lot. We got pushed around a lot last year. And do you remember the game against Buffalo where Ristolainen and Colin Miller were just murdering people the entire game against the Flyers, and nobody said anything to them the entire game?
I tried to block a lot of that out, but yes.
Yeah. And I don't remember if we won that game. I think that may have been the game that we came back and won in overtime. But regardless, that's the kind of shit that we need. We need that physical presence. We need that I'm going to go out and kill somebody this shift mentality. You know what I mean? We need to bring some of that back because it gets the whole bench going. Not the whole, we're going to skate around and we're going to do the flyby poke check and, we missed the poke check and they're on a breakaway. Like, we need that physical play. And I love the guy. I would like to have him on the team. I think he would fit very well in AV system. All
right. Like I said, I won't be angry if they go out and get him. I'm just a little bit fearful of pairing him up with Sanheim.
I mean, if they don't get anybody else and we're forced to, he's my first guy I'm putting with him, and then you see what happens. You can't throw Cam York in there. I don't want Braun there. I assume Hag is gone, and you want Ghost with him, Sanheim? If they get somebody else, like if they get Savard and Ristolainen, okay, well now we're talking, maybe. That's what it's all about.
That's going to be a lot of cap. The only thing that concerns me, like I really like Savard. I love his style, and he's definitely more of a defensive defenseman than he is offensive. At least at this point in his career, he's definitely more defensive side of the puck than he is offensive side of the puck. He still has that offensive ability that he showed in the beginning of his career.
We're talking about Savard.
Yeah, Savard.
Let me just show you something real quick since you're talking about offense. I believe you could still talk while the video plays, so give it a shot. Yep. That's David Savard.
It was Victor Hedman point out his offense.
Yep. How many goals?
Yep.
That was like a triple deke there.
So he's got it in him if he needs to.
He's a competent player, yeah.
Okay, Kyle. Sorry, I can finish your thought.
I just am not confident you're going to get him cheaper than your top pair guys. Like you're going to be right around what you're paying your top pair guys. And that's a lot. Somebody's going to come in and offer Savard a truck. Somebody's going to back the truck up to Savard's camp and dump money on him. And I just don't want to be in a battle with another team, like going back and forth in some kind of like bidding war for Savard. I like the guy. I think he would fit here. If you can get him cheap or right around that same what Risto's making, 5.4, 5 mil. I'm okay with that, but I don't think you're going to.
I was going to ask you. I was just going to ask you.
Would
you be okay with 5.5 over 5 years for Savard? 30 years old already, mind you. He'll be 31 in October.
I probably wouldn't go 5 years. I would try to keep it around 4 because those big defensemen tend to break down.
Okay.
Yeah, it's tough.
But if you can, I'd go for it. But like I said, I just have this feeling somebody's backing the truck up to Savard's camp and dumping 6.57 mil on him. Like you're our defenseman. Like, you know what I mean? Somebody overpays for one of these guys every single year. And I don't think it's going to be Adam Larson that gets overpaid for. I think it'll be Savard.
It could be. He's got a cup. I mean, that does things, And for the record, like I would like Larson, Savard, and then Ristolainen. So Ristolainen's more of a financial decision because it's 1 year. If you can make it work for 1 year, then you figure out the rest there. If they decide to put more money into another center for depth and backup goaltender and they go a different route, that's fine with me as well. I'd be shocked if they add 2 more defensemen at this point. I'm not against it by any means, but yeah, I mean, tomorrow's going to tell us an awful lot. I like that we have all these options. A lot of teams hopefully go hard for Hamilton, and maybe we can make a signing before that domino goes down if we're lucky and get them somebody for cheaper than what they should be. But we'll see.
See, that's what I'm concerned with. Is you brought it up right there, and that was my point with Savard getting a boatload of money. Is Savard's the consolation free agent out of this free agency? It's Savard. Well, it's Dougie Hamilton first, and then it's Savard that's going. And somebody's overpaying for him.
Teams lose out, and they pivot to Savard and whatnot. And, it depends on who's really in on everybody and what the cap situation is looking like. And Seattle, if they have money, they could try for one of these guys as well.
It's also worth noting that the talk for Seth Jones has completely disappeared. Is anybody in on Seth Jones, or did Columbus overplay the crap out of their hand on that one?
I heard like Klingberg and for Jones and Dallas, and that's about all I heard. There's not even enough about it. Just it's being talked about, and because that's where he's from.
Heiskanen just got 8 point something mil.
Yeah,
for 8 years. So you're going to trade for Jones and then pay him 7-8 mil.
Haven't heard anything about Chicago. Everything with Colorado is, Landeskog, and maybe they're pivoting towards Eichel, which seems like way.
Dude, how about that, by the way? Landeskog potentially to St. Louis.
Yeah, I heard that. I saw that today as well.
Who would have thought, man?
The second Tarasenko said, I want off this goddamn team, I went, yep, St. Louis is going to have to do something. They're going to have to bring in offense somewhere.
Right.
Yeah, hell of a move.
It's a good question. Just to answer it, what makes you think Sanheim is safe from this upheaval? Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think we're all pretty much in agreement that either Sanheim or Myers would be traded. And since Myers has been traded, I find it hard to believe they would move Sanheim unless it was for like an Eichel-ish deal. And even then, I think Ristolainen would be coming back as well, or something crazy like that. I can't.
Also worth noting, Sanheim is RFA.
Right, and that too. But I just would, I'd be absolutely shocked if they moved him in any kind of deal for. I can't outside of Eichel. I can't think of anybody, and they're not going to move him 1-for-1. So it's like I don't see a deal that makes sense.
Moving Sanheim now seems counterintuitive to what they're trying to do for me. It's always been Provorov, Sanheim. Like they went out, they got rid of Myers, they replaced him with Ellis. Why are you going to move Sanheim now to replace him with another D? You know, like we've just had many shows like go out and get guys that can help what you got.
I think that if this year Sanheim plays at his average or slightly below, and Cam York looks like he's going to take that spot from him, it makes Sanheim very expendable. But I don't think this offseason Sanheim's very expendable for us. That left side, it's not the absolute steadmost solid left side D corps in the league, but I think a lot of what the Flyers are trying to do is solidify the right side and make a solid pairing all the way through.
Yep.
And if they can do that, that's solid, and you have no reason to get rid of Sanheim, because Sanheim paired with another solid defenseman, same as Provorov, who seemed to struggle a bit until we brought in Matt Niskanen, and then it was like, oh crap, Provorov looks like the real deal again, and then there goes Matt Niskanen and Provorov falters again. It's like kind of the same thing. I think if you just solidify these pairings opposed to replacing all of them, then you'd be much better off. Plus, I think Sanheim's going to sign for a relatively good contract.
Yeah, no, after the season he had, I agree with that. But ultimately, it comes down to for me, unless there's a blockbuster deal, it was going to be Sanheim or Myers. And early in this offseason, we found out it was Myers that was traded. So at that point, Sanheim was solidified in that second pairing for me.
Dude, if they get Sanheim the right guy, and I'll say it now, if Sanheim is still on the team, which I think he will be, 45, maybe 50-point season out of Sanheim. They got to get him the right guy, though, right? Like part of being a good GM and a good coach, I mean, we've talked about it on here, is setting your players up for success. If he's paired up with a project player while he's trying to develop himself in Sanheim and Myers, you're hindering his development, right? Like Myers, it was just too soon. And, a lot of us were hoping it would work out, and it didn't. You know, go get Sanheim a partner that can help him excel. Just focus on playing his game, his way, his style, so that he can, focus on his own responsibilities instead of, if I'm not here, if this guy doesn't do this, I got to be here. I got to be there. This way, if he's got a guy like Savard, who we're talking about, or a guy we're going to talk about next in Adam Larson, he's comfortable out there. He knows this I know where he's going to be. I don't have to worry. He's going to play D. I can pinch, or I can do this. I can do that. Get players that are going to allow these guys to gain confidence, to be confident playing their game. And then if it doesn't work out by the end of this contract, I'm assuming it'll be another 2-3 year deal, something like that. Then let's think about moving on, because guess what? You got Cam York coming off his ELC. He can slide up and play middle pair, That's kind of my thought process here. Could be wrong. I'm wrong a lot, but I don't know. It just makes sense to me.
I have a little confidence, Jimmy. You called the Ellis shit months ago.
We were hoping, right? I got to give credit to Ansan, because he came on and told us, like he said it. I don't know why guys, want to give Ansan a hard time when it comes to this stuff, but he told us that they had groundwork done. It's like, well, groundwork done to me means they have a deal in place. They just didn't want to pull the trigger yet. Here we come, off season, triggers pulled. They shot their shot with Seth Jones, said right away that they were out on Dougie Hamilton. In my mind, it just made too much sense for Ryan Ellis. 30 years old, 5-6 year deal, not a cheap contract, but in my mind, a bargain contract for a top pair defenseman. And he's got a great beard. So go get him.
Another ginger, too. That's right.
Yeah. Dude, how weird is this? Do they do it on purpose, do you think?
I think so. It's
Yes,
definite.
it's
Orange and
blends.
black, it blends. You know, it's the thing.
They're all gritty-ish. It's great.
Yeah.
We've been calling a lot as a whole. I mean, we've been saying since like February, like Jake Voracek needs to go. And, you know, people will look at you like, what? Jake, how? And he is like, we're a day away, like almost exactly 24 hours away from finding out that he's the rumored deal. He's what we expect at this point. And it's like, yeah, we saw this coming a mile away. They need that locker room just flipped on its head, and getting him out of here would be a huge way. Now, this whole Tarasenko stuff's like, it's just like, wow, okay, I'm all about that. But the main thing is getting Jake out of here just to change the culture of that locker room, which we've been saying for I can't tell you how long. We said it'd be Sanheim or Myers. Myers is out of here. I can't believe Patrick's on that deal, but we all wanted him out of here as well. Like, everything seems to be happening how we were as we watch this worst season in franchise history. A lot of the moves being made are right in line with how we envision things getting better. And it's good because you get confidence in Chuck that he sees it and he's like, yeah, there needs to be a change. And that first deal is a hell of a start to the offseason.
And you know what else I'm super happy about? There has been zero rumors about Dumba or Sutter or Parisi or any of that crap. I haven't heard a damn thing. He's staying away from his Minnesota boys, and I really wanted him to. I think at the end, if you're getting down to the wire and Sutter's still there and you can get him on a 1-year deal cheap and you just need a guy, I don't see why not. But at this point, all of that is pushed to the back burner, which everybody was, I think all of us were a bit concerned when all the Minnesota rumors started flying around. And I'm like, oh no, Chuck, don't build another Minnesota.
Well, I mean, that, and every time Chuck's, he made the move, and every time they talk to him about it, he's like, yeah, there's more that needs to be done. Like, he's not saying I made my big move and we'll see you next season. He's constantly talking to teams. We heard he talked to Seattle 7 or 8 or 9 times. He's looking at forward. He's looking at more defense. He's looking at backup goalie. He's a lot needs to be done, and he realizes that, and he's going to just keep churning it. So it's very good to see, because we didn't know what Fletcher was made of after last offseason. So this is really good to see.
As for that Christopher comment down there, what do you guys think about Patrick not saying anything nice about Philly?
Okay.
Who cares? F that dude. As far as he's concerned, he probably never even played here because he only thinks about himself. So he was probably only worried about how his hair looked on the bench.
Yeah, I don't care.
That Barbie doll can stay out in Vegas for all I care.
I hope he doesn't. Keep Philly out of your mouth, Nolan.
What's hysterical is he's going to get to that locker room and try to pull this crap, and Ryan Reeves is going to punch him right in the mouth.
Maybe so.
I hope so. Maybe that'll wake him up, or he'll have to retire. I'm just so glad we don't have to hear this crap anymore. I could not stand players like that, crybaby whiners. They stood by all his BS, and he has nothing to say nice about Philly. Okay.
Now, if you expected any more, then you weren't really, paying attention.
I didn't even want to listen to it. I just don't care.
Real quick on Chuck Fletcher, though. I just had one more thing to mention about Chuck that we're kind of learning. And he's not really deceptive in the way he does it, but when he says something, when he allows something to leak into the media, it gets done. I don't know if you guys are noticing this or not. When he goes out and says, I'm going to address this, this, and this, like, it's kind of starting to happen. Like, this Voracek stuff leaked out, right? And Chuck even came out in the press conference and says, yeah, I already talked to him. He may or may not be here, but we're trying to get him out. In my mind, it's already done, or else he wouldn't say it. And same thing with this Ellis deal, right? Rumors leaked that he even said it. They made groundwork during the trade deadline. It happened. They made the trade. So pay attention to when he talks about when specific players come up. Pay attention to the way he answers, because I know a lot of it's corporate jargon. So you kind of have to, if you're not falling asleep, you kind of have to be paying attention a little bit. Like, if Tarasenko's name comes up and it's mentioned from Chuck or someone close to the organization, it might happen. Like, it could happen, and more than we think. Like, it might not just be a rumor. If he's coming out and he's confident that he can say it, it might get done. So it's just interesting stuff there. If you listen to Chuck talk or not. Another comment here. I don't know if you guys saw this. Did you guys see that?
Oh my God, dude.
I did.
So you're saying you didn't get shoulder surgery? No. Okay. How about shoulder surgery?
And then like he got the last question and asked something that was like just asked like 2 questions before. And it's just like, you confused old man. Like maybe you should just pack it in or something or say pass. Like that was kind of embarrassing. I'm like, now Ellis probably thinks Philly's a bunch of morons because of this guy.
Like nobody asked him anything cool. Like, hey, like Ryan, like what number are you going to use? Because number 4 is taken. The last player that wore 44, I think, was teaming in, right? Like, I don't know who you going to take. Those are 2 numbers that number 4 you can't use. Number 4, there was a great player that wore it before you. It would have been nice to know, but hey, maybe they were told beforehand not to ask it because they revealed it like an hour or 2 later. Who knows? Number 94, by the way, such a weird number. First,
only 94. Yep, in Flyers history, the only 94. And I was thinking about it too. I'm like, wait, what? It was in like, and though the first person popped in my head for some reason, Nikolai Zherdev. What was he? 93?
Yeah, 93.
Zherdev. Jeez. Yeah, no, it was very underwhelming. The questions were dumb. Although, I mean, it was good that we found out about that whole shoulder surgery thing or lack thereof. But that was it. Everything else, even Ellis was very like calm and reserved. And what do you think about this guy? It's like, he's a hockey player. It's like, oh, geez. I mean, I don't even think what he said about Provorov was truly how he felt. I think he just knew he was our top defenseman, and I say that with quotations. It was just said, I got to say something nice here. I don't think he's a jerk or anything. It's just he needs to meet the team still. He's a Western Conference guy. He doesn't see these guys a lot. Then you got this weird season where you didn't play him at all, and so I just feel like it was just a waste of time. Everything, if it wasn't for the shoulder thing, that saved the entire press conference, if you even want to call it that.
I thought that was interesting too, because let's say, I don't know, if you're Ryan Ellis, you don't really want, because I don't think it ever actually came out like from the team that he had shoulder surgery. It was just, beat writers in Nashville, and they probably knew. But if you're Ryan Ellis, you don't want people knowing that you had a shoulder injury because they're going to come right for you, right? Like, I don't know. Kyle, you play. If you know that a guy has a shoulder issue and he's good, you might try to hit him in the shoulder. If he's stuck in the corner getting the puck out, hey, take a run at Ryan Ellis' shoulders, crap.
I'm certainly not going to hit less hard because I know your shoulders hurt.
Exactly. Right. So I thought it was interesting because, he said it was his knuckles. I didn't believe him, and I thought it was funny that Sam kept pressing him because it seemed like Sam knew that he was, at least that's the way I took it. Like Sam knew he was lying. That's why I asked him 2 and 3 times. Sam made himself look dumb by doing that, but what are you going to do?
It may have been a hand injury for all we know. That's the kicker. We do not know. And the guy says he's 100% healthy, and that's what I'm going off of. We'll see.
Yeah. I'm not going to call Ryan Ellis a liar his first day here,
You just did. You literally just said he was lying.
No, I would never do that. So real quick, we'll do a round robin here. We'll start with Jack. Out of Savard, Larson, Risto, who do you want most?
I'll take Larson by a very small hair compared to Savard.
Okay, Kyle.
Again, it's a money thing for me. I know what Risto's making, so for me, it's Risto first, and then Savard, and then Larson. Okay.
I'm going to go Larson, Savard, Risto. And I want Larson because he's a couple years younger than Savard. 6'3", 208. Not going to put up points. Not his style. But he'll hold down the fort. He's played with some good players. He's played in a couple different cities. He's, used to being moved or playing somewhere new. He knows the Metro or the Eastern Conference a little bit, playing with New Jersey. I don't see the downside in signing Adam Larsson. Did I mention he's 28 years old? He's a little bit younger than Savard.
Yes, you mentioned he was younger. Yes.
To me, that's a plus.
Same draft class as Couturier.
Yeah, there you go. I'm comfortable giving him a 6-year deal. 6 years, $6 million, 6 years, whatever it is. I think they need a guy to lock down with Sanheim for the foreseeable future.
So if you're going to pull that question up, this was kind of asked to me directly earlier. It's for Christopher McCarthy. Who's the 3C you guys want, and does he need to be a right-handed shot? I don't know about you guys personally, but when it comes to the center position, It's more for a defensive thing, whether they're right or left-handed. I really like Blake Coleman. I don't know who's re-signed and whatnot yet. I like Casey Cizikas as well. There's a plethora of guys. Some of the contracts I'm seeing these guys could be getting and have turned down already, such as what's his name in Montreal, are kind of like jarring. Like, wow, like Philip Deneau. Like he turned down like a long-term deal. I think it was over $5 million a year. This is a flat cap era. And I know it's not going to be forever. I know the cap's going to go up, but like, I'm still a little surprised with how some of these contracts, like you think some of the money would come down because of the length, and it's not. So I don't know what the prices are going to be on these guys, but I would really like Casey Cizikas if he is available. Coleman, Deneau, guys of that, any of those guys, honestly. I might be missing somebody. I know Gaudreau's in with the Rangers now, so he's off the board. Is there anybody I'm forgetting?
Ryan Getzlaf.
Alec Jack just cracks up right away.
You want to change culture, bring in somebody who's got a cup.
Not wrong about the cup part. That's
milk
for sure.
Milk his last year. Milk it. I mean, for a third line center position, the dude's not bad defensively. I doubt he's going to leave the West Coast for the record. I'm just saying, for a third line center, you're going to get him cheap. He's not going to cost you an arm and a leg. He's big. He's physical. He probably doesn't move like he used to, but he's not weak defensively by any means, has never been weak defensively. And you got another guy that can float if Hayes doesn't recover from this injury. I'm just saying.
Hey, we just saw Ryan Ellis go for Patrick and Myers, so nothing's really out of the realm of
if I could coax Getzlaf over and milk him like Montreal milked Corey Perry last year, I'm gonna do it all day long. All day long.
They did milk him good.
I don't know where Corey Perry's going to go this season, but I hope it's to not a very good team so that he can be like our deadline pickup as we go into the playoffs.
That'd be awesome.
And it'd be great if they had if they signed Getzlaf, we can put him right next to him.
Be awesome.
Could you imagine?
That'd be hilarious.
There's chemistry there.
That would be really fun to watch, actually.
But Jim, you have a third line center preference? Because of right now, it's either Scott Larson or Morgan Frost.
I would like for Kevin Hayes to be the third line center. Quite honestly, yeah.
All right, second, fourth.
Yeah, I don't think they can go very far into the playoffs with Kevin Hayes as the second center. So, in my mind, and it's a long to-do list. You go out and get 2D and bring in a Tarasenko, and you get a second line center. It might be too early. I'm not sure, but I want Kevin Hayes to be the third line center opening night. I'm not sure who they go get. So here's my kind of thinking, guys. When I was talking about Chuck and, what he says, kind of believe it because it's the truth. So you remember in this press conference where he said he's going to make trades to make the roster better now without trading, future assets. And to me, that's like he's going to make, some deals without moving his big chips. And his big chips right now is Morgan Frost and 13th overall. In my mind, and it's going to sound crazy again, he's keeping these assets to use for maybe, I know Jack Eichel's a big fish. I know the Flyers haven't been connected as much, but he's keeping those chips for that kind of guy, or to go out and get maybe a first line guy. Coots slides down the second line. I don't know. That's what I think's coming. Will it happen? I'm not sure. If it does, I'm going to assume it happens right when they're about to use the 13th overall pick, right? Because that's when it's kind of like, hey, we're about to use our pick. You want to make this deal or what? And that's when it's the most valuable. So maybe we will see some draft day trades. To answer the question, I don't know who I want to play second line center. I'm not sure. I don't think Reinhart is the guy that's going to put them over the top like a Jack Eichel would. But I would settle for Reinhart, I guess. But if you're holding all these chips to the side, you make all these moves for Tarasenko, Ellis, you go sign another free agent defenseman, you still have the 13th overall, Frost, this, that left over. I'm expecting a top 2 center, 1 or 2 next on the list. So I don't know. Reinhart and Eichel are the only guys that come to mind for me. It's crazy.
So you're going for broke.
Yeah, let's do it.
I mean,
They
great.
owe it to Claude Giroux. They owe it to him.
I cannot see that much movement taking place to bring in the top 2 center.
I know.
To be 100% honest with you, because that would be absolutely insane. I mean, I'm all for it.
Well,
if you can do it, but
in Buffalo, it was like two NHL caliber players, 2 prospects, and/or a pick or something. And it may have even been more. I forget. It was like 6 total pieces, and they have the pieces to do it. I just don't know what pieces would be, and Buffalo would like it. And with the Rangers and the Kings and Anaheim being heavily involved in that, and now the Wild, that's probably the top name I should have.
Yeah, that's a pretty hefty package there.
But they should, if they really wanted to, though, they have the pieces to make it work. They really do.
Right. I mean, 3 guys right off the top of your head is Konechny, Frost, 13th overall pick, which is a valuable pick, as we've said many times.
That covers 3 of the 4 main pieces they wanted.
Yep.
If you want to give them a 2022 first as well, I would. Now you're looking at one more roster player. That's just tough. Who is it at that point? But you got to make it work. You got to figure it out. It's got to be something, or another prospect like a Forster or something, or even a Cam York. I mean, if you're talking Eichel, you have to consider these names.
Yeah, for sure.
I don't see them pulling the trigger on a Jack Eichel. I just don't. Maybe Reinhart and Risto come in some kind of blockbuster type trade, and you get another center, right? Reinhart's a center, right?
Yeah, I heard he played a lot of wing, but he's like, how the Avalanche use Landeskog, where he's a wing, but he takes all the face-off type deal.
Yeah,
I think that's the same thing for Reinhart. Yeah. So, yeah, I don't know. That's kind of where my head's at in terms of a center. I haven't really thought who I would want to play 3C, because in my mind, they need a 2C. So I'm sliding Hayes down, and that's a lot of money to pay a third-line center. So I'm not sure how they do that. Maybe they do end up moving JVR and Voracek. I don't know. And Konechny. Need a completely different team heading into next year.
I'll tell you what. At this point, so what?
Yeah.
I'd rather watch a completely different team.
We've seen 6 years. Well, there was one spike year, but of just dog shit. So they can trade essentially whoever they want besides Provy, Carter Hart, and I'd like to keep Farabee, but ultimately, if they traded him for the right guy, would I really be that upset about it? I don't know.
There you go. So. Farabee, there's your other piece.
Piece.
So a little bit over an hour here, guys. We covered all of our topics. What do you say we put a bow on this one, eh? As they say in the old country.
Getting tomorrow that much faster, then yes.
You rest
I'm going to bed right now.
Oh, okay.
Christmas morning. Let's go.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, that's going to do it. Thanks for hanging out there in the episode. Make sure you listen to us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or Spreaker. Give us a subscription on the YouTube. We're trying to get to 150 YouTube subscribers by Friday. We're giving away some cool stuff. Jerseys, T-shirts, koozies, you name it, we got it. But we got to hit 150 followers first. We're like 80 followers away. So a lot of ground to make up in 3 days, but I know we can do it. Thanks for the support. Once again, thanks for hanging out. And we'll be back next week.